Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. She is somebody who works with families, couples, individuals, helping them move their life forward through many different modalities. She is a clinical psychologist, and we're going to focus on, at least start today, with children and the issues that bring them to therapy and why some parents maybe shy away from jumping into therapy with their kids, where it could make a huge impact on their lives. She's back with us. Dr. Gloria Vanderhorst is on the program. Welcome, Gloria. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Steve. Thank you for having me.
Great
to talk to you.
You too. And we learn so much. You've got decades of experience, especially working with children. So why don't we look at children, maybe pre-K or right around school age, right there?
Excellent.
And the issues that can crop up, why their parents might be thinking of bringing them, what prompts that? Maybe it's the school. Let's go there.
So there are actually two different avenues. Sometimes it's the parents, because this child is difficult to manage at home, or they're concerned about some unique characteristics or qualities. Let's say the child isn't eating well, and they're really concerned about weight gain and physical stamina. So sometimes the parents, because of behavior or physiological concerns, will talk to the pediatrician. The pediatrician is generally the referral source for those parents and says, maybe you should talk to a therapist and get some help, get some advice and direction. So that's one avenue. The other avenue is the daycare, the preschool, the kindergarten, whatever system the parents are using for childcare and education during the day while they're off to work. And many times that will be the source. The teacher in that system will talk with the parents and say, your child is more difficult to manage than others, or your child is shyer than others, right? Not willing to engage with the other children, spending a lot of time in isolation. So those are the two sources, the parents themselves or the preschool daycare will send the parents to really pay attention to what's happening with their child.
You said a word before. I want to focus on that for a moment. Eating. So, eating disorders are huge among adults.
They are.
How young can they start? That's my first question. And how do you navigate through that? Is that something that you can help parents with, even at the teenager level?
Yes, they can start very early. That doesn't mean that a preschooler who's having difficulty with nutrition and eating is actually going to turn into an adolescent with an eating disorder. It's not linear in nature. And the adolescent with an eating disorder may have never shown any symptoms of having difficulty at the dinner table or with breakfast or eating before. Because in adolescence, what tends to happen is it's not so much about food. It's about self. It's about how I experience myself, whether I'm comfortable with myself. It's how I see myself. So children who are anorexic, adolescents who are anorexic, actually see themselves as fat.
Mm-hmm.
They look in a mirror
Yep.
and they see themselves as much bigger than they really are. And they get hyper-focused on different areas of their body, right? And they can pull up piece of skin and say, oh, that's got way too much fat in it. But at the preschool level, I think what happens most of the time is the way in which the parents structure how they provide food, particularly in this day and age. If you think about it.
Say that again. I want,
Yeah,
that's I'm like, whoa, okay. So now am I getting this that eating disorder situation can be more on the parents?
it can be on the way that parents provide food for their children. So if you
Wow.
think about the typical American family at this point, both mom and dad are working, all right, which means they come home 5:30, 6 o'clock, right?
Yep.
Everybody is hungry, including them, right? And to prepare a meal is difficult, but it's also a labor of love.
Hmm.
And if I'm stretched, I've had a difficult day, I don't want to engage in food preparation. So I'm much more likely to pick something up on the way home,
Mm-hmm.
much more likely to order in if I can afford it, or I'm much more likely to open a can of something or pull something out of the freezer and pop it into the microwave. Right. So I've not really participated in providing that food. There's an emotional difference for the parent. If I've not participated in providing that food, what do you think is happening to the children that I present it to?
First thought here would be meals are not mindful.
Uh-huh.
They're not impactful. It's
Right.
just get it over with. You need to eat something quick. And,
Right.
and I get that, we have
Mhm.
unfortunately busy lives, and I wish it wasn't that way, but it is. Um,
Mhm.
how does that mentality, with the parent is just rushing, um, turn into an eating disorder?
Well, there's another aspect to the rushing, all right? Because in today's family, mom and dad are just not coming home from work to chill out for the rest of the evening, right? They're taking their children to different activities.
Then there's
This
that.
one has to be at soccer. This one has to be at dance class. This one's taking music lessons, right? They're on the go until bedtime.
Hmm.
So there's no interaction with the parent other than what takes place in the car, transporting a child to their activity. And then, depending upon the attitude of the parent, right? If I'm a real soccer fan, right? And I really want my 3 or 4 year old to love soccer, right? We're going to have some serious conversations in the car. It's not going to be light and fun and easy. It's going to be stressful. All right. And so now I've set up a situation in which the dynamic in the household has this layer of stress to it. The food that I provide is vanilla at best, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the child's perspective is that they're not that important, first of all, and that they have to perform in order to earn relationships. So you ask them, okay, connect those dots to an eating disorder. So I think it's obvious. You can see the connection. I get this early message that as a person, I'm not really that important. As an object to perform, I'm very important. All right. And that's a deadly combination. If you don't care about me, but you care about what I can produce for
Hmm.
you,
Hmm.
then emotionally, you have set me up to be hyper focused on what's happening inside of me.
Wow.
Yeah.
These are things I didn't even expect to hear,
Mhm.
that we as parents can be impacting our kids in ways that we didn't even see.
You don't know it.
You don't
Yeah.
know.
When you
No.
Mhm.
And do you think, would it be reasonable to think, okay, let's say you have an adolescent with an eating disorder,
Mhm.
and it's often been said that a lot of times eating disorders are control. We're controlling something.
Mhm.
So let's go back to, let's say, I'm going to get, hypothetical here. Let's say you have an adolescent experience a divorce, maybe not going well between parents.
Right.
Now the mealtime is all kibosh. There's no, let's say it came out of nowhere. There's no family
Right.
gathering at the table when there used to
Right.
be. It's
There
all
used
over
to be.
right. It's all over the
Mhm.
place. Life changes, and it's meals are all different now because life is different now,
Right.
and now that adolescent is reacting to it and maybe even trying to take some control, and that's how they control that one little piece of their life. Does that sound reasonable?
Right. It's very reasonable, right? I think the adolescent is really looking for comfort. If you think about it, we come into the world connected to another human being,
Huh.
right? We spend our lives trying to reconnect with other human beings,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And if inside our family of origin, there's little opportunity for genuine connection, right? Mealtime used to be a time where the family sat, they chatted, they reported about their day. There was connection, right? Which said to the child, "You're valuable to me.
Mm.
I really want to know the stuff that happened in your day. All right. I want to be able to laugh with you about the silly stuff that you did. I want to be able to hear kind of the serious stuff where you were having success. I want to know what your failures were today because I care about all those parts of you." Now that piece is completely gone, right?
Wow.
If you don't care about all of those small parts of me, what am I to do? What am I to think? What am I to feel? What will happen to me next, right? I will isolate. I will go interior. And essentially, I will eat up myself. I have no other choice.
Wow.
Sorry.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It's it's real, but it's when you think of that, mind blowing.
Mhm.
What can happen? And that now we're just using one adolescent example,
Sure.
but we're not even talking about those other things that may have taken place. Let's say somebody said something to this child or
Right.
teen, and now you add this
Right.
other stuff, and now that you've got all this going on at the same time.
Yeah. Any focus on the body. So sometimes parents don't realize the impact that they're having when they focus on a child's body. All right. Maybe you're teasing a child
Yes. Yeah.
about being a little chubby. All right. It's fun. To you, it's a joke. But to the child, it's an injury. It's there's something wrong
Yeah.
with me, right? Or maybe you're a mom who's hyper focused on the way that their children look,
I was just going to
right?
go there. And
Yeah.
maybe,
So they have to be dressed in little Polly Flinders dresses. Remember Polly Flinders dresses?
or anything.
Or
It's
anything, right?
let's say you have a mom, her mother used to give her maybe a hard time about why
Mhm.
your hair is like that, or what are you
Right.
wearing?
Hmm. Hmm.
You, for lack of a better description, as that mom, take it out on your daughter. You don't even know you're doing it. You're just
Right.
doing what you know. And it's like
Right.
the same thing. You can't wear that to school. Come on.
Right.
Really? And
Right.
you add that with all the other stuff that we're potentially talking about. And it's no wonder, you know, kids have
Yeah,
trouble.
that focus on the visual is powerful. It's
Yeah.
one of our strongest ways of representing the world is the visual. Yeah, and so if mom or dad are really focused on the way that you look, the way that you dress, what size, you are, then that focus is painful. It goes deeper inside of you. And then you want to manage it. You don't want to be managed. You want to manage it. So when you start to manage your own weight, you're going to be in trouble.
Wow. Do you, Gloria, when you're working with, kids, whether it's adolescents or what, and their parents, do you often figure out what's going on here? Or you have an idea, but it's almost impossible to get right down to the very core of what has taken place?
Yeah, I think there's a multi-layered answer to that, right? If you're starting out as a therapist, you typically don't figure out what's going on here, right? If you're asking me at this point, at the end of the first few minutes, definitely by the end of the first hour, I know what's going on here, right? I know when it started, how it started. I know where they need to go as well. But that's based on, decades of experience with families. Wow. You can't observe a family, different families over and over again without absorbing that information.
And is it something that you would work on individually? Let's say it's an adolescent and with the parents, or one-on-one sessions. How does that all look?
I think it looks like a combination, right? And that combination might be that you get another therapist involved to work with the adolescent. You do a coordinated interaction with that therapist and the whole family system. It could be that as an individual therapist, you stay with the entire system, have different sessions with the adolescent, different sessions with a parent, different combinations of parent, child, sibling, and child, because it's a whole system. Everybody that lives in that household participates in some way.
Well, this is very true. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's, and you might not even realize it because it could be a sibling,
right?
And I'm not saying contributes in a bad way or anything like that, but it's all part. It's all part of the.
It's all part of the system, right? Yeah. We live in this petri dish. We live in a milieu of different people, different dynamics, different relationships. Mm-hmm. And as an adolescent, the reason that we have protective laws for adolescents is their brain is still developing, all right? Their decision making cannot be treated as, oh, this is rational, this is final, this makes perfect sense. Right? You just can't allow that to happen. So it takes a village.
Let's go back. Talking about preschool or just at school age, you had said that more times than not, then at that time, I think it's just that age, but enlighten us. Usually boys, more times than not.
Usually boys.
It's boys.
Right. Usually boys.
Why is that?
Well, there's a very good reason for that. One little known fact is that males come into the world with a broader range of emotional expression than females. Think about that.
I will be saving that one.
Think about that. That's factual. That's truthful, right? But we don't acknowledge that as a culture.
No.
That boys will have a wider range of emotional expression. And in fact, as a culture, long term, we train males to have a much narrower range of emotional expression. So the teachers in preschool are mainly what? Females.
Okay.
Females, all right? You'd be hard pressed to do a survey and find a male preschool teacher. Now, the guy that comes in and does gym with the preschoolers is typically a male, but the day-to-day teacher is a female.
Wow.
And so she does not expect this boy to have a really broad range of emotional expression. So when he's using that full range, he stands out as different and inappropriate, right?
Sure.
And so we need to talk to his parents about the fact that sometimes he gets too loud, or sometimes he gets too morose, or sometimes he gets too busy, or he's always too something. Right? And so we're going to then refer him out and have somebody do an evaluation of him and see what we can do so that he's not too of anything anymore.
Wow. So I want to make sure I heard this clear. We have a couple of minutes left, but this is huge. I truly believe boy is much broader equipped with emotions at that age.
Right.
But it comes off looking as, he's hyperactive. He's got that going on. He's got that going on just because boys are going to express their emotions in different ways. He may, slam his hand on the desk. Like, no, because he's just expressing himself. How does that look?
He'll move around more.
Right. Just because he's a kid. He doesn't know how to do it. So why has it been said that girls emotionally grow up faster than boys? Like, let's fast forward, I don't know, 8
so
years?
Those are two different sets of facts.
Okay.
Right? And the truth is that girls do mature emotionally about 2 years ahead of boys. So we should have an educational system that takes that into account. I'm not saying you separate them completely, right? But you need to acknowledge that the emotional maturity of boys lags about 2 years behind from elementary school up to middle of high school.
Okay.
So there should be an accommodation for that. And we have no accommodation for that because we don't pay attention to boys. We don't pay attention to boys. We have them in this narrow little box. All right. They're supposed to be athletic. They're supposed to be strong. Right. They're supposed to be mathematical.
Big boys don't cry.
Big boys don't cry. And they definitely have no emotion.
Isn't it amazing?
Lie.
They're this, and we take them and put them into a box and squeeze. Now it's almost like it's got to explode because the boy is not being who he really is. So we talked about.
So why do a lot of crimes get committed by males? Why aren't females out there doing the same thing? Right? I mean, if you're going to compress a child from preschool forward and put them into this narrow cattle lane and say you have to think this, you have to feel this, you have to behave this way, they're going to bust out.
And take it out.
We don't do it to girls. We do it to boys.
Wow. It's interesting when we're like literally out of time, but when you said, let's focus on boys today, I didn't know why. Now I know why. And in my journey of learning a lot of this stuff, I've changed my view of inmates in prisons to some extent, where it's not all their fault. It's how they were. It was how they were raised. And I don't just mean, how mom and dad were and came from broken families. And it's things that were planted in their heads. Like we talk about, 0 to 7 being so impactful in terms of your subconscious. These things were planted back then, whatever it was, challenging childhoods. And now they take that with them. and they're dealing with challenges and they react in a certain way.
Right.
Now, yes,
we automatically train a dysfunction into a certain percentage of the male population.
that's not to say that there are inmates there that just are bad.
Right.
There are bad people in the world. But with some latitude and understanding, and yes, no matter what, you broke a law, committed a crime, you have to pay for it. That's
Right.
and that's the way it is. But maybe it's not always their fault. That's all I'm saying. Just take a look at that.
Yeah. Right. No, you're on target. They get set up in many ways.
Yeah. Wow. Interesting talk today. Very much so. Thank you very much, Gloria.
You're welcome.
How do
Happy to do it.
how do we find you if we're a parent?
Yeah,
dealing
so
with
you
something?
can find me through my website, which is www.drvanderhorst.com. So it's www.drvanderhorst.com.
Wow. Thank you so much. Learned a
You're welcome.
lot. I'll be taking some of those nuggets and sharing them with others.
All right, good.
As a matter
Enjoyable.
of fact, I'm going to be talking to a really good friend who has 2 boys and has some challenges with them. And we're having literally about our kids having a conversation tonight. So I'm actually going to share
That's
that.
great.
Yeah.
That's great.
All right. Thank you again, Gloria, and look forward next
You're
time we talk.
welcome. Okay.
Thanks. We'll be right back.
Bye.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Let's go inside the mind of a 10-year-old.
I should have worn those earrings today. I like those earrings. Gabby has those awesome earrings. I need to ask her where she got those, but that's just what she would want me to do. I'll have Michaela ask her for me.
Buckle up, Sarah.
Yeah, but then Michaela will be like, why don't you just ask her yourself? That's just like Michaela.
Sarah, buckle up.
Michaela's such a great name. I wish I was called Michaela. There's like a dozen Sarahs in my class.
Hey, we're not hitting the road until you buckle up, honey.
Oh yeah, seatbelt. I forget sometimes because my brain is like busy, I wonder if there's pizza at school today.
Sometimes it can be tough to get through to your kids, but it's not impossible. Always make sure they're wearing their seatbelts, even on short drives. Remember, you have the keys, you have the power. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. Visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup for more information.